is ironic that many American teenagers came to appreciate homegrown soul and rhythm and blues thanks to British bands like the Animals. They introduced a generation of American kids to the works of blues legends Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, Jimmy Reed, and Robert Johnson. Around this time, folk music was starting to blend with rock and roll. And folkies, as they were called, began to experiment with electrified instruments. On the West Coast, the scene sprang up on Los Angeles' Sunset Strip. A group of former folkies took Bob Dylan's musical poetry, added a twist of the Beatles, and turned it into top 40 gold. They were the first American band to directly challenge the British invasion, the high-flying Byrds.
The idea of putting the song Mr. Tambourine Man into 4/4 time came from listening to the Beatles. And when the Beatles came out with their 4/4 beat and the Mersey beat and that whole thing, I just loved it. And I'd been doing the folk thing with 2/4 time, but and 3/4 time a lot.
Take me for a trip upon your magic swirling ship. All my senses have been stripped, and my hands can't feel.
We were approaching this music as it was an acoustic thing. Plugging in, it was trial by error. This is really what made the Byrds sound a unique sound, because we didn't have anybody to copy. We did go with the Beatles at first. We did try to emulate the Beatles, but then sort of by osmosis we took in all these other things, and the Byrd sound came about.
Cast your dancing spell my way. I promise to go under it.
We were rehearsing in Los Angeles, and Dylan came over to the studio where we were rehearsing, and we played a couple of his songs, and at first he wasn't sure what songs they were. He didn't recognize them. I said, "That's your song." And he said, "Wow, you can dance to it."
Dylan's music was the beacon of the protest movement of the 60s, and when he plugged in his electric guitar, many fans were outraged. Though controversy followed him everywhere, Dylan refused to compromise or be labeled.
I wonder if you could tell me that among folk singers, or if you are properly characterized as a folk singer, how many would you say could be characterized as protest singers today?
How many?
Yes. Are there many?
Yeah, I think there's about 136.
You say about 136? Or do you mean exactly 136?
Either 136 to 142.
I was a huge fan of early Dylan because at one point I was a folkie. I had an acoustic guitar and a harmonica around my neck. And I used to go down to Greenwich Village and see all the people playing at that point. When he went electric, I just thought it was the greatest thing. I thought it was a pioneer move to move socially conscious music into a whole nother arena.
In a moment, James Brown, the Supreme.